homes being brought to market are not all made equal. I find that at least my lived experience is like when an area becomes very desirable, it's usually the most affluent people that are willing to like put some money in there first. And therefore, a lot of this like housing stock that is meant for the wealthy or higher income folks, there's never like an undersupply of that part, but it's always that workforce housing, that affordable housing part that is going to maybe require a little more density, maybe require a variance of just like, okay, we don't need this much parking because this is for a family that doesn't need as many cars
Right.
as the typical American family that has too many cars, right? And that for me, where I've seen it work really well, there's always a public-private partnership that comes into account, right? Like I know that Mayor Deegan is really big on housing affordability here in Jacksonville, right? I would assume that anybody that would have taken the reins, no matter what, you look at this economic picture and they have to do that. So the public interest will generally be there at a local level, right? Because you're so close to it. But on the other side of the public-private partnership from public is the private piece, right? It's these companies that are willing to play ball, right? That are willing to bring forth new technology to do this, new ideas to do this, are willing to think long term. And that's where I think that I'm so hot on Jacksonville being able to push through this because I've seen you guys now not only develop the technology to build infill lots, right? This most cities as they densify from the inside out, right? And that's when you get the situation of somebody that works in LA but lives in the Inland Empire and has to drive 2 hours each way to work. I saw it, right? Like I lived that. I
Right.
saw guys that lived in Temecula, drove 2 hours into Orange, California, and 2 hours home.
Yeah.
That's a really rough thing to do for this like working class sector. So building in close tends to be these like super highly densified kind of like public project buildings that aren't very attractive. But Jacksonville doesn't really need to do that for a couple of reasons. One, it has land. And two, you guys happen to have cracked the nut on single family home and infill lots a long time ago before this was even the thing. So can you tell me a little bit just about how is it that you have always been so aligned with this piece? Like, was that deliberate or how did it work?
It started with our basic model of investing, and we saw the greatest good that we can do was to focus on workforce housing neighborhoods. The greatest good for our investors, the greatest good for our communities. So it all was central to helping these workforce housing neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And when we fast forward to today, the need of housing, specifically in workforce housing neighborhoods, has never been higher. So I feel like we're at the right place at the right time to really make this impact. And, I started to put the stats together. JWB has rented over 11,000 homes.
Okay, 11,000 homes
We have
been
rented over 11,000 homes, and you all are a part of that success. When you invest with JWB, you are a part of the housing solution to make this more affordable. Because I'll share with you, those 11,000 homes, we track the average rents every single year, and we compare that to what HUD would deem as affordable rents in Jacksonville. Every single year, our rents are below what would be deemed affordable for HUD. So we're building more and renting more in the place where it's needed most and at the rates that it's needed most. And I'll add one more thing. The average decrease from what HUD would deem affordable for our type of inventory that we're bringing to the market with all of our investors is 38% below what HUD would deem affordable. So we collectively, as an investor base, are helping to solve the affordability challenge, but we're focusing on the long-term solution, not just the quick fix solution, right? It is how do we build more in the neighborhoods that are needed most? Most of the time, you mentioned how like the more affluent areas are the ones that tend to get served the most with housing supply.
Yeah.
That's easy to understand why, because there's money there.
Yeah.
Right? There's money there, builders can build and people are willing to pay and all that. The reason why it's been so challenging to serve the neighborhoods that we serve is because you typically can only incentivize a developer to do it with incentive dollars. And there's not a whole lot of incentive dollars rolling around for affordable housing. Now there's more because as a country and as a city, we are aware now because home prices have risen so much and rents have risen so much that this is a problem to solve now. So you're starting to see more of that, and that's good. That is good because there's more to solve here than JWB can do. But I do want to make one note, and you all should feel really proud about this too. JWB has never received any incentive dollars to build the houses that we build in workforce housing neighborhoods. We have never, ever received any city incentive dollar or any type of incentive dollar to do that.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing now is that more developers are coming in the game, and that's a great thing. We want that, but they're doing that mainly because of the incentive dollars. We, as a community here at JWB, this is our bread and butter. This is what we are here to do. This is here we are here to serve here. We're kind of at the intersection of serving so many wonderful narratives, right?
It's true.
The investor side, the resident side, the community side. So I want you all to feel really good about it. We are making a positive impact, and we've made a positive 11,000 homes. Can you believe that? I was shocked when I put that together.
Denny is saying something. JWB is out there solving the problems that so many communities just complain about. Impressive, and we're all part of that solution. I agree. 11,000 homes, all of them deemed as even below the top threshold of what would be considered affordable with no incentive dollars. That to me is a giant kind of check mark of if I am going to be the top executive of a city, a mayor, and I'm thinking, man, I really want to make this thing a priority because I see it coming down the line. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, okay, I can throw a rock and hit a developer because they're always knocking on my door for whatever. But if I really want to go to the heart of the matter and say, hey, how do we really solve this thing in a sustainable fashion? I'm going to want to look for someone that has already essentially solved it without, while creating a triple win, essentially, right? Like we talked about the triple win last week in resident experience, but in this community architecture, this triple win of bringing to market homes that are affordable for people to live in without having to tap into city incentives and still be able to meet numbers by you guys figuring out, hey, we can raise them in infill lots, we can sell them to investors, we can rent them at very fair prices that make their investment a very attractive investment, but also makes it so that the residents here that need to work at the Amazon Logistics Center, work at the school, work at the naval base, be able to make ends meet and still have a path to home ownership is like a giant lock that you guys figured out way before it became a cool conversation, which I find really interesting.
It's who we are. It's the genesis of this business was to serve this market.
Yeah.
And we will be serving this market, whether or not there were incentive dollars out there, more incentive dollars that there are today or not. And I think the city really appreciates that.
Yeah.
We are so excited to be a part of, this solution. And I got to say, Mayor Deegan is incredible. She has already set aside those funds from a city perspective because we do have a big problem to solve and we don't want it to get worse going on. So she's done an incredible job. There are so many people on city council that are doing a wonderful job. And, if you're on the inside here in Jacksonville, there's just positive kind of cohesive movement towards solving problems that is really rare in cities that have 1.6 million people. So we're super excited about that.